Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The story contains elements of psychological horror and suspense that may not be suitable for all audiences. Reader discretion is advised. My name is Aaron Miles, and I've always considered myself a creature of habit. Wake up at 6:30 a.m., shower, coffee with exactly 2 sugars, and then off to my IT job in downtown Chicago. My life was predictable, maybe even boring to some, but I liked it that way. I liked control. That day started no differently. The sun broke through the half-closed blinds in my apartment, casting long slashes of gold across the floor. I got out of bed, made my coffee, and scrolled through the news on my phone. Everything felt normal. But sometimes, the worst things in life begin in the most ordinary way. When I walked outside, I noticed something odd right away. Mrs. Reynolds, my elderly neighbor from 2 floors down, was standing in the hallway staring at me. Her brow furrowed like she was trying to solve a difficult puzzle. "Didn't you just go downstairs?" she asked. "No," I said, a little confused. "I just stepped out of my apartment." She frowned even more, mumbled something about getting her eyes checked, and walked away. I laughed it off, but a tiny worm of unease squirmed into my gut. Maybe she really was just confused. The elevator ride down was uneventful, but as I stepped out into the building lobby, I saw the doorman, Greg, look up and do a double take. He opened his mouth like he was going to say something, then closed it and gave me a forced smile. "Morning, Mr. Miles," he said, overly polite. "Back already?" "Back?" I asked. "This is the first time I've come down." Greg chuckled nervously. "Right? Must have been someone else." He turned away quickly, pretending to look busy with something behind the desk. The feeling in my stomach deepened. Was this some sort of joke? A prank? The train ride to the office was crowded and uneventful except for a young woman who stared at me from across the aisle like she'd seen a ghost. When I finally got to work, I was met with even more confusion. My manager, Sarah, called me into her office almost immediately. "Aaron, you're cutting it close today," she said. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I'm early." She tilted her head. "You left just 20 minutes ago saying you weren't feeling well. Why are you back?" I blinked. "I never left." She stared at me for a moment before slowly nodding. "Maybe I got you mixed up with someone else." That was the 3rd strange interaction that morning. My heart pounded against my chest like a warning drum. I forced myself to get through the day, pushing the incidents to the back of my mind. Maybe it was just a weird coincidence. People misremember things all the time, right? But when I got home that evening and checked the building security footage out of sheer paranoia, I had access because of a side project I was doing with the building's network. I froze. At 7:15 a.m., about 15 minutes before I left my apartment, the footage clearly showed me walking out of the elevator, wearing the same clothes, same backpack, same everything. The timestamp didn't lie. I rewound it, watched it again. There I was, staring at my phone, heading out the building's main doors like I'd done 1,000 times before. But I hadn't. I was still in my apartment at that time. I know I was. I slammed my laptop shut. Maybe there was a glitch. Maybe someone hacked the camera. Maybe, but none of those explanations calmed the chill that crept up my spine. It wasn't the end of the world, yet, but something strange had begun, and deep down, I could feel it. That moment was the start of something bigger, something I didn't understand yet. And whatever it was, it had my face. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about the footage. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw myself, my exact face, walking out of the building while I was supposedly still asleep in my bed. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was an old recording. Maybe the system had glitched and shown the wrong date. But the logical part of my brain knew that was a lie. Still, I forced myself to go about my day. Routine felt like an anchor to reality, something to keep me from drifting into panic. I left my apartment at exactly 7:30 a.m., took the same elevator, nodded awkwardly to Greg, who was now avoiding eye contact, and headed toward the train station. That's when it happened. I was halfway across the street, my phone in hand, when I glanced up and froze. Across the intersection, standing on the opposite curb, was someone who looked exactly like me. Exactly. Same black hoodie. Same jeans. Same navy backpack slung over the right shoulder. Same haircut. Same posture. His phone was in his hand too. And here's the thing, he wasn't moving. He was staring at me. It was like looking into a mirror, only this mirror had stepped out into the real world. We locked eyes for what felt like an eternity. I couldn't move. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. My mouth went dry. And then he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of grin someone gives when they know something you don't. A slow, deliberate twist of the lips like he was enjoying this. I took a step forward almost without thinking, but a car horn jolted me back. I looked both ways to cross, but by the time I looked back across the street, he was gone. Just gone. No crowd to disappear into, no alley to turn down. One moment he was there, the next, nothing. I stood there for a few seconds, stunned, waiting to wake up from what had to be a dream. Then I turned and rushed to the other side, scanning every face, every sidewalk. But there was no sign of him, of me. The rest of the day blurred by. I couldn't focus at work. My hands trembled so badly I could barely type. I told my coworker Lucas what happened, just to hear it out loud, to make it real. "You sure it wasn't just someone who looked like you?" he asked, half skeptical, half concerned. "No," I said firmly. "It was me. Same clothes, same face, same everything." He laughed nervously. "Maybe you've got a twin you never knew about." I didn't laugh. I didn't even smile. That night, I dug through old family records, birth certificates, anything that could possibly suggest I had a brother. But there was nothing. I was an only child, raised by a single mother who had passed away 3 years ago. I had no close family, no one to ask. And then the phone calls started. The first one was from an unknown number. "Hey," a woman's voice said. "I saw you at the gas station today. Why didn't you say hi? You looked right at me." "I wasn't at a gas station," I replied. "Who is this?" She hesitated. "It's Emily. From college. Remember me?" I did remember her. We hadn't spoken in years. "Emily, I think you're mistaken. I haven't left the city all day." "No. I'm pretty sure it was you," she said. "You even waved. I thought maybe you were just in a rush." I ended the call, my blood running cold. Over the next 2 days, it kept happening. People messaging me, calling me, saying they saw me somewhere I hadn't been, shopping, driving, even at a bar I hadn't visited in months. It was no longer a coincidence. This thing, whoever or whatever it was showing up in places I'd never been, interacting with people I hadn't seen in years and pretending to be me. And the worst part? It was doing a better job than I was. I stopped sleeping. I didn't mean to, I just couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face. My face. That twisted smile across the street haunted me like a bad omen I couldn't shake. But worse than the fear was the growing doubt. Was I losing my mind? Was this some sort of breakdown? I needed proof, something tangible to remind me that this wasn't just in my head. I started tracking every minute of my day. I took photos of myself at random times, made voice notes, even logged timestamps of where I was and when. I needed a record, something to compare against the next time this copy of me popped up. That moment came sooner than I expected. 3 days after the street encounter, my coworker Lucas pulled me aside at lunch. He looked uncomfortable, like he'd been debating whether to say something. "Hey, not to sound weird, man," he said, scratching the back of his head, "but what were you doing at that club last night?" "What club?" I asked. He blinked. "Velocity. Downtown. You were there. I saw you." "No, you didn't," I said. "I was home all night. Didn't even leave my apartment." Lucas frowned. "You were standing at the bar. Black hoodie, same shoes you're wearing now. You even nodded at me. I thought it was strange you didn't come over." I stared at him. "I wasn't there. I swear." He didn't believe me, I could see it in his eyes. That night, I hacked into the bar's CCTV system. It wasn't hard. I still did freelance network security jobs on the side, and one of my clients was a private security firm. I found the footage from the night before and fast-forwarded to around 11:15 p.m., the time Lucas said he saw me. And there I was. On screen, standing confidently at the bar, ordering a drink, even laughing with the bartender. I leaned closer, squinting at the monitor. The detail was perfect. My posture, my voice, my smile. But something felt off. Like watching a version of myself who had more charisma. More presence. He was comfortable in his skin, maybe more than I ever was. My hands trembled. I paused the video. My double raised a glass in a silent toast and looked straight into the camera. Right at me. I shut the laptop and backed away like it had caught fire. I could barely breathe. This wasn't just someone copying my appearance. This thing knew it was being watched. It was playing with me. I tried to report it. I showed the footage to the building manager at Velocity, claiming someone was impersonating me. But when I returned the next day to follow up, the video had been wiped. No such file exists, the staff claimed. Maybe you dreamed it. My own technology was betraying me. I went to the police, hoping someone would take it seriously. I told them I thought someone had stolen my identity. I showed them screenshots from texts I never sent, social media posts I never made, posts that had been deleted minutes later. But they gave me that look. The one they reserve for people who are either crazy or deeply unwell. I think you might be under stress, Mr. Miles, the officer said. You should talk to someone. A professional. They didn't believe me. No one did. The next betrayal came from my bank. My account showed 2 purchases I didn't make, one at a gas station 2 cities over and another for movie tickets in a town I hadn't been to in over a year. Same credit card. Same timestamp as when I was at work. When I demanded to see the security footage from the movie theater, the manager hesitated, then finally relented. What I saw made me drop my phone. There I was, laughing with someone. A woman. My arm around her shoulder. Eating popcorn. Watching a movie I didn't remember. I checked the date again, confirmed it with my job's time clock. I was in a staff meeting at that exact time. I left the theater shaking, barely able to walk straight. Everyone thought I was losing it. But I knew the truth now. Something was out there, posing as me, living as me, better than I ever could. And it wasn't going to stop. It wasn't just strangers or coworkers anymore. The people closest to me, those I trusted, began to change. They started acting like I was different, like I wasn't myself. And I couldn't blame them, not after what was happening. The doppelganger was getting bolder. It started with my best friend, Julian. We'd known each other since high school, shared everything: parties, heartbreaks, late-night road trips. He was the one person I believed would never doubt me. But now even he was pulling away. You've been acting weird lately, he said over coffee one morning. One day you're all chill, the next day you're off. Like, not you. What are you talking about? I asked. I haven't even seen you in almost a week. He stared at me. We grabbed lunch 2 days ago. You told me your mom left you a safety deposit box with old journals in it. You said you were going to Michigan this weekend to check it out. I felt my stomach drop. That wasn't me, I said, voice barely a whisper. He laughed. Don't mess with me, Aaron. It was you. I know my best friend when I see him. But he didn't. Not anymore. After that, things escalated. One evening, I came home to find my apartment door slightly open. My heart pounded as I stepped inside, every muscle tense. Nothing seemed stolen or broken. Everything was in place, too in place. Shoes I never wore were lined up perfectly by the door. A half-full mug of coffee sat on the counter. The TV was on, tuned to a documentary about black holes, something I'd never watch. It was like someone had been living my life and just stepped out minutes before I arrived. I checked the security cam I'd installed inside the apartment. The file was gone. Not corrupted. Not deleted. Gone. As if it had never existed. That night, my dreams were full of mirrors. Hundreds of them. Some cracked. Some smeared with blood. In each one, my reflection stared back, but it didn't move when I did. It blinked when I didn't. It grinned when I screamed. I woke up gasping for air, drenched in sweat. The nightmare lingered like a poisonous fog. The next morning, I received a call from Clara, my ex-girlfriend. Aaron, she said cautiously, why did you come to my place last night? My heart froze. I didn't. She was silent for a moment. You knocked. Said you needed to talk. That you made a mistake leaving. I let you in. My mouth went dry. Then what happened? You sat on the couch. We talked. You looked different. Your eyes. Like you were hollow. You didn't stay long. Just said you missed how things used to be. You even kissed me goodnight. It felt wrong. I didn't respond. I couldn't. She continued, whispering, I don't think it was you. The doppelganger wasn't just mimicking me now. It was interacting with people. Rebuilding my life in its own image. I was losing control of my identity, one piece at a time. Desperate, I tried to track it. I stayed up all night with live access to the building's camera feeds. I installed new hidden cams in the stairwell and even placed a motion detector outside my door. At 3:12 a.m., I caught movement. The hallway camera showed a figure stepping out of the stairwell. It was me, same hoodie, same walk, same slouch. He paused outside my door, glanced at the camera, then smiled. That same cold, knowing grin. I stared at the screen, frozen. And then he knocked. Not gently. For firm, steady knocks. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the door, watching the shadow underneath it, motionless on the other side. And then, without opening it, I heard him whisper. Let me in. The voice was mine, but older. Worn, like something ancient wearing my skin. I backed away slowly. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't move until dawn. He didn't break in. He didn't need to. I was already unraveling. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't content to haunt me anymore. It wanted to be me. By the end of the week, I wasn't sure who I was anymore. The boundaries between me and the doppelganger had started to blur, not just in other people's eyes, but in mine too. I'd catch glimpses of myself in mirrors and pause, unsure if it was my reflection or his. Then the real damage began. I woke up to an email from my job's HR department with the subject, "Immediate Suspension Conduct Review." My heart sank as I read it. Apparently, I had shown up late for 3 days in a row, cursed out a client, and was caught on camera sleeping at my desk. The email included screenshots clear as day. And the person in those shots? It was me. Same clothes, same face, same everything. But I knew I hadn't been there. I had texts from coworkers confirming I'd been out sick those days. Still, when I tried to defend myself, no one believed me. The world only sees what it wants to. By the afternoon, I was locked out of my email, my ID deactivated. I was officially suspended pending an investigation. The same day, I received a message from my landlord, "We need to talk about the noise complaints." I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't even left my apartment. But apparently, neighbors had reported screaming, banging, and someone playing music on full volume during the night. One neighbor claimed she saw me, or who she thought was me, standing completely still in the hallway at 3 a.m. staring at her door. "I called your name," she said, "but you just smiled and walked away." I wanted to scream. I wanted to claw my way out of my own skin. I wasn't safe anywhere, not in my home, not at work, not even in my own mind. It was getting harder to keep track of what was real. I began recording myself constantly, terrified I'd wake up and discover I had gone somewhere, done something without my memory of it. Then I got a call from my bank. "Aaron, this is regarding the withdrawal you made in person yesterday afternoon, $3,000. I didn't make a withdrawal." There was a pause. "We have video verification. Would you like us to send it over?" I didn't respond. I knew what I'd see. Instead, I checked my savings. It was nearly empty. He wasn't just stealing my identity. He was replacing me systematically. Taking my job, my money, my history, my life. Soon after, I noticed I couldn't log into my social media. Passwords changed. Recovery emails altered. Even my phone began acting strange, texts vanishing, calls not going through. When I went to the service center, they insisted everything was fine. But my number now belonged to someone else, someone named Aaron Miles. My own name had been reassigned. I tried reaching out to the last person who might believe me, my Aunt Karen, my mom's only sibling. She'd known me since I was a kid. She had to know something was wrong. But when I showed up at her house, she looked confused. "Who are you?" My breath caught in my throat. "Karen, it's me. Aaron." She narrowed her eyes. "Aaron came by last week. We had dinner. Talked about your mother. You said you were moving to Arizona for a new job." "That wasn't me," I whispered. She stepped back. "I think you should go." The door closed in my face. My fingers trembled as I pulled out my phone. I opened the front-facing camera to see if I was still me, if my reflection made sense. It didn't. For a moment, just a second, I swore I saw him looking back. My lips didn't move, but the face on the screen smiled anyway. I dropped the phone. It cracked on the pavement. And then I heard it. A whisper carried on the wind behind me. "You're almost done." I spun around. No one was there. At that point, I knew I wasn't just losing my life. I was being erased. One detail at a time. I wasn't ready to disappear. Even though it felt like I was already a ghost in my own life, something inside me refused to surrender. I knew that if I didn't act soon, I'd become nothing more than a forgotten shell, my doppelganger walking freely in my place, erasing the last traces of me. So I fought back. I started with the basics, trying to trace every confirmed sighting of him and pin it down to a pattern. I still had some skills, network access, social media tricks, a few leftover favors from old cybersecurity clients. I began building a map of his movements, creating timelines that compared my whereabouts with his. The weirdest part? We never overlapped. It was as if he knew where I'd be, and he avoided it deliberately. He moved in the shadows of my life, just out of reach, yet close enough to wear my skin whenever I stepped out of it. That made tracking him hard, but not impossible. One lucky break came from a private traffic camera outside the Velocity Club, the same place where Lucas had seen me. The footage was archived and password protected, but I got in. At exactly 10:48 p.m., I saw him leave through the side alley, duck into a gray sedan, and drive off. License plate 8W9L327. That car was registered to me. Or rather, to someone using my name, birthday, and address. I followed the registration trail. It led to a storage unit on the edge of town under a different name, A. Miles. Same initials. Same handwriting on the lease signature. I waited until midnight to go there. I don't know what I expected. A portal to another world? Some weird sci-fi cloning lab? It was worse. Inside was a room designed to mirror my apartment almost perfectly. Same lamp. Same couch. Same cheap cereal on the counter. Same coat rack by the door. There were even framed photos of me with people I'd never met. In one picture, I was standing with a woman and 2 kids. The caption read, Family Day 2023. I wasn't in that photo. Not really. On the table sat a notebook. Handwritten. Page after page of personal details about me, my schedule, my passwords, my memories, even my nightmares. It wasn't just an impersonation. It was a study. An invasion. Then I found the mirror. Large. Floor-length. Covered in a dark cloth. Something compelled me to pull it off. And there he was. My reflection. But he didn't mirror me. He stood still while I moved. When I stepped forward, he didn't flinch. His eyes locked onto mine like a predator watching prey. Then he smiled. That same unnerving, crooked smile I'd seen in the hallway camera. I reached out to touch the glass, and so did he. Only his hand touched mine first. A shock ran up my arm. I stumbled back, heart pounding. And for the first time, he spoke. You took too long, he said. His voice sounded like mine, but with an echo, like someone mimicking me through a deep cave. I'm taking it back, I said through gritted teeth. My life. My name. He tilted his head. You think this started with me? Look closer. The mirror shimmered just for a second, and I saw flashes. Memories that weren't mine. Moments I never lived. Other people. Other lives. All with my face. All wrong. My knees buckled. It was as if the mirror had punched me with a lifetime of memories that weren't mine. Or maybe they were. I'm not your shadow, he whispered. You're mine. Then he vanished. I screamed and shattered the mirror with a nearby chair. The moment it cracked, the room seemed to breathe, like it had been holding itself still until I broke the spell. The lights flickered. The walls pulsed. And in that chaos I ran. I burned everything on my way out. The notes, the photos, the fake apartment, I lit it all up and watched it turn to ash. It felt symbolic. A fresh start. But even as I stood outside in the smoky night air, I knew it wasn't over. You can't kill something that wears your face. You can only delay it. The days that followed felt quieter but not calmer. The storage unit had been reduced to ash. No one asked questions. The fire inspector chalked it up to faulty wiring. The police didn't dig deeper. After all, no one knew a second me had lived there. But I wasn't safe. Not really. The doppelganger hadn't shown himself since the mirror incident. No more hallway whispers. No sightings at Clara's. No unexplained texts or calls. And that scared me even more. I knew the silence wasn't peace, it was preparation. He was planning something. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile, the one that didn't belong on my face. I knew the final confrontation was coming, and I had no idea where or when. Until the phone rang. An unknown number. I answered, breath held. You left the door open, the voice said, my voice. Then the line cut. I ran to my apartment. Everything looked normal. Locked windows. Still air. Until I saw it. The mirror in my bedroom, shattered months ago, was whole again. And something was moving inside it. Not a reflection. A presence. He stepped forward from the glass like it was water. No shimmer. No flash. Just crossed over. He wore my clothes. My face. My voice. But there was no soul behind his eyes. Just hunger. You've made a mess, he said, circling me like a wolf. Burning our home. Tearing up our notes. You could have joined me. Joined you? I hissed. You've ruined my life. He shrugged. It wasn't yours to begin with. That's when I realized something. He wasn't a parasite. He wasn't copying me. He thought I was the copy. A long silence passed between us. I reached under the bed and grabbed the one weapon I had, my dad's old hunting knife. Rusted but sharp. I held it tight. He didn't flinch. You can kill me, he said calmly, but you'll never be sure which one of us you really were. That hesitation, it was enough. He lunged. We collided like mirror images, shattering into chaos. Fists. Blood. Breathless screams. I stabbed. He punched. I kicked. He slammed me into the wall. And then I pinned him down. I raised the knife. Say something only I would know, I demanded. He laughed. What if we both know it? I paused. That's when he smiled again and said, "You were 10 when your mother drowned in Lake Haven. You were supposed to watch her. But you turned away." My grip tightened. "No one else knows that." "Exactly," he whispered. And for a second, just a second, I couldn't tell if I was holding him down or if he was holding me. Everything tilted. Then I stabbed. Deep. Once. Twice. Again. He gasped, eyes wide, blood blooming like a flower on his chest. I backed away, trembling. He reached for me, then stopped, and collapsed. I stood there, panting, covered in his blood. Then I checked the mirror. Only one reflection stared back. Mine. It was over. I buried the body. Somewhere no one would find it. I burned the clothes. I deleted every trace of him I could think of. And yet, some nights I still wonder, did I kill him, or did he win? Because sometimes I find myself smiling in the mirror, and I don't remember why. Weeks passed. I started putting my life back together, what was left of it. I got a new phone, changed passwords, moved to a new city where no one knew me. I even started seeing a therapist, though I never told her the full story. How do you explain to someone that you killed your own face? But even with the fresh start, the unease never left. It clung to me like a shadow at noon, impossible but undeniable. I began noticing little things. People I didn't know waving at me like we were friends. Cashiers telling me back again so soon, even when I was there for the first time. One night, I walked past a storefront and saw a reflection that lingered a second too long. At first, I told myself it was trauma. PTSD. Guilt. But the truth felt colder, more real than I wanted to admit. I hadn't destroyed him. I'd opened something. One evening, I returned home to find a letter slipped under my apartment door. No stamp. No name. Just one line, typed on a piece of paper. "You've started a cycle. It doesn't end with you." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in front of the mirror for hours, watching. Waiting. At exactly 3:33 a.m., I blinked. And when I opened my eyes, my reflection hadn't blinked back. I stared at it. It stared at me. Then it raised a hand slowly, deliberately, and pointed. Behind me. I spun around. Nothing. When I turned back to the mirror, the reflection was normal again. But I knew what I saw. I wasn't alone. I never had been. Since that night, I've become obsessed with mirrors. I avoid them during certain hours. I never keep them in my bedroom. I started researching folklore from every corner of the world, every legend, every myth about doubles, reflections, mirrored souls. And what I found chilled me. They exist everywhere. Every culture. Every timeline. Some call them fetches. Others shadow selves. In ancient Egyptian belief, the Ka was a spiritual double. In Germanic folklore, a doppelgänger seen by the original was an omen of death. But what no one agrees on is where they come from. Or what they want. Some say they replace you. Others say they feed on your fear. But one obscure manuscript said something different. The first to doubt himself is the first to be devoured. Doubt is the crack through which the copy crawls. That stuck with me. Because the truth is, I did doubt. I doubted my sanity, my identity, my memories. And through those cracks he came crawling. And maybe he's still crawling. Because there are days I don't remember getting out of bed. Moments when I speak and feel like I'm hearing someone else's voice. Sometimes I'll look in a photo and not recognize my own smile. And every time that happens, I ask myself, did I ever really win? Or did he just move in more subtly? Some nights when the lights are low and my defenses are down, I feel it. A presence. Standing just on the other side of the glass. Watching. Not trying to replace me anymore. Just waiting. For what, I don't know. Maybe for the moment I let my guard down. Maybe for the moment I finally stop asking myself, am I still me? Because when that question fades, the answer takes over. Candle final note, if you ever see your double, don't talk to it. Don't follow it. Don't try to prove you're the real one. Just run. And whatever you do, don't let it smile. 38.